We want to create a podcast because we want to be able to explain some things that we're seeing in the treatment room and to have wellness conversations and to just be able to collaborate with one another and then at some point collaborate with other individuals, other wellness individuals, whether they are professionals in that space or they've lived an experience of wellness where their life has been transformed by their own lived experience, right? That's really what we're going
Absolutely.
for.
Yes. This is us being real from day one. This is what you get.
Exactly. This is really exciting because we are in the process or have been in the process of evolving to this podcast for quite some time. I mean, we've been talking about doing a podcast for at least 2 years, if not longer. So here we are, finally.
Yes.
So, maybe what we do is we start off at the beginning of kind of to tell a little of one of how we came to be to begin with. And, if we look at me, Samantha, my background being in wellness, I was in dental for a very long time, patient coordination, helping clients feel comfortable in that space, right? While also managing all the day-to-day back end business side of dentistry. While you have been a practicing clinician for over 20 years. So not only are you a practicing clinician, you're also a newly certified whole nutritionist. And
Yes.
you're also a certified medical laser technician. So you've
Yes.
been doing all skin for, yeah, over 20 years and have your own skin clinic. Now, I call it a skin clinic, but is that accurate in me portraying it in that way?
Yes. My it's I call it my safe skin space. Say that 3 times. Basically, yes. Clinic, suite. I'm a private, small sole proprietor medi spa, basically where my priority in clinic is advanced treatments to help clients with skin conditions and overall skin longevity.
Right, right. And then the other part of that is, you've hosted events. I've been to one of your events before as a client, but you do a lot of education and that sort of thing as well. And so that's important to note as well on that. The one thing too that I want to mention is how we came together. One of the things that people don't know is that we were friends first and then I started to see you professionally. At the time that I started to see you professionally, I was in a state of just total, my body was just in a bad way. My skin was highly reactive. And then also my body in general. I was just kind of undergoing a really stressful time in life. My husband and I were undergoing fertility treatment. Specifically, we were about to start the IVF process when I started to see you clinically. But for a period of 10 years, I had some version of hormone therapy and or the beginning stages of that IVF process. And if anybody has gone through that process, it's a very stressful
Excuse me.
process. Bless you. It's a stressful process physically, emotionally, financially, but then also hormonally. Like you're just, if I could kind of encapsulate that period of time, there were periods where I felt on top of the world, like, wow, these hormones, I feel amazing. Where has this been my whole life? To feeling like a total basket case and then everywhere in between. It's a pretty committed, in depth process. But at the time that I found you, my skin was really kind of freaking out. Remember, I had that really bad cystic acne, like out of nowhere, like those hard nodule cystic acnes that were in there. And in addition to that, I would break out in hives. Any stressful event kind of tipped me over the edge. And that was over a period of years. You treated me with that. Remember, I would call and you're going to send me pictures right now
Right?
of what's happening on
Absolutely.
your skin.
Huge huge hormonal turmoil.
Yeah, just total swings from one pendulum to the other. And so you were instrumental in helping me achieve that balance to really get my skin back into a homeostasis or a stability standpoint. And we know from a protocol standpoint, that's really where you're trying to get your clients from that stable, linear position, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And most people are not in a linear, stable position anymore. I mean,
Ever.
certainly
Ever,
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah, so it's sometimes you needing to go outside of that protocol, if this then that mentality, to do what's in the best interest of your client, to bring them into that space. When I was going through that fertility process, especially during the IVF process, I had 2 different endocrinologists, one through the hormone therapy phase, and then I went to a different endocrinologist for my IVF portion. And she was the first doctor to really sit down with my husband and I and kind of bring about that awareness of endocrine disrupting chemicals, how prevalent they are in the body, excuse me, not in the body, in our environment, how prevalent they are in everyday products that we use, foods that we ingest, plastics that, hold food, any kind of plastics that are on food or any type of material. Those are sorts of things that I had not ever considered. I mean, I had heard of like microplastics and toxic loading and that to a certain degree, but had not heard of endocrine disrupting chemicals and the impact that that actually has on our body, especially when we are in periods of high hormone fluctuation. And so when she gave me this 3-page document of literally everything I needed to stay away from, I mean, it was skincare, makeup, hair care, body care, it was deodorant, tampons, cleaning supplies, detergent, those Febreze things that you plug into the wall. I mean, it covered everything. And I remember calling you and you're like, come in,
Bring me your
let's
list. Let
bring
me
me the
see it.
list.
Let's talk.
Yeah, let's take a pause. Because that's going to be completely overwhelming, and let's just kind of walk through some of this. So I'll kind of leave it to you to how that looked for you as a clinician. You have, your friend, but you also, she's a client kind of coming to you going, okay, wait a minute. She's someone who's always taking great care of her skin. She's a little bit of a hormone mess right now. We need to get her into a position of stability, but I also need to know what types of treatments and products to recommend to her because she can't really use what's on this list and prevalent in everyday skincare products, right?
Right. So basically separating skin from the hormones, because first and foremost, you were coming in because your skin was a mess. And so looking at that from an aspect, looking at the cystic acne, looking how you're having inflammatory responses, looking at overall at just the skin in general and figuring out how to treat just the symptoms, which is basically the acne and the inflammatory response, always takes a much deeper look. And from basically the get-go of my education, it's and my own personal experience learning skincare and how to treat skincare in the clinic, it's been from a whole body holistic view. And so I knew, because I knew more of your story because we were friends, I knew that you weren't just all of a sudden having acne just to have acne.
Right.
So it had to be, everything had to be taken into consideration. The list of ingredients that your endocrinologist had given you, as well as all the other symptoms that your body was going through as well. And then taking things and backtracking and basically cutting every single thing out so we could start from ground zero to see what really worked and or was working or could work, what shouldn't be in your list of all products that you were using, figuring out products that we could trade for those. And that meant everything. So I had that full kind of worldly look. So when we are talking things and we're talking like the holistic idea, it's like, oh, well, I have an idea of laundry detergent you can use. I have an idea of all these different things that you can switch it up, because going through something like infertility, like you were, and then having all of your inflammatory responses and the acne on top of it is very, very overwhelming. And you're already overwhelmed. And so just having all of those ideas to be able to take some of that pressure off yourself is going to balance out even a little bit of that fight or flight or hormonal load, which will then actually help us, me as a clinician, you as a client, to start balancing out the skin, strengthening it, and getting it through those symptoms that you were experiencing.
Yeah, and that's key, right? It's kind of like stripping away everything. Sometimes that initial reaction is, "Oh, well, I just need to kind of push it a little bit more or go in this direction and push it in this way," when usually that's not the case. It's like less stimulation, right? It's like cut everything
Absolutely.
out. Let's stop overloading the skin. Let's stop overloading the stimulation, and let's just kind of get that skin back to a period of calm before we start introducing again, which is what you and I did.
Yes.
And then fast forward a few years later, we're having dinner and we're like, you were having a hard week that week, I recall. And I said, well, let's start our own skincare company. And you were like,
No,
and then
no.
you're like, I'm good. I'm feeling really good about my life right now. And then you called me and said, "Let's have a conversation." So boom, here we are. So yeah, it's funny how things unfold, but it's like I'm not the only one in life to go through this, right? I'm not the only one that's gone through fertility and has had this type of experience. I'm not the only one who has autoimmune or has had an oncology event or someone who's was in the middle of some form of oncology treatment, or there's any number of things, right? And so it's led us on this evolution between creating skincare product for clients like me, right? Clients like the ones you serve, but then also to think outside of that to go, okay, well, if you're experiencing this as a clinician, as I have experienced my side of things as a client, then we can't be the only ones, right? So it's like
Oh,
it's made us ask that question, which I'm going to lead to now, which we think is a fracture in the aesthetic protocol system, right? And that's where if I asked you over the last 2 to 3 years in the treatment room, what are some of the biggest things, biggest changes you've noticed and how skin is reacting or is able to have some capacity for treatment?
just overall, kind of in the society that we live in today, skin has completely changed. It used to be more resilient. It used to be able, excuse me, to take treatments better, to take actives better. And now it's so prominent that the skin barrier is compromised, over actives are being used, over an abundance of actives are being used. And we're seeing skin conditions on all age groups instead of, teen acne used to be just a teen thing, and now it's absolutely not. Like,
Right.
there's so much stress overload, hormone overload that now these even my 60-year-olds, are coming in with acne that have never had acne in their lives. I'm seeing 30-year-olds now with elasticity, collagen and elasticity breakdown already, and that's not a common thing. In your 20s and your 30s, your skin is still very resilient, nice and bouncy, and, I'm seeing that elastin break down in, like I said, like the 30-year-olds, and their skin is more not that their skin isn't good or moisturized, but that elasticity has, really broken down. And that really, again, our food, the environment, stressors that we go through, products that we use, everything is really playing a role in what the skin is looking like these days.
Yeah. I mean, it's so true. It's, hormones, it's gut dysbiosis, right? It's anything that metabolically is happening. If there's any specific types of medications that people are on, we're seeing that trend in the GLP. What is it? Clarify that for me,
The
where you've
GLP
noticed. Yes, the GLP ones where there's been that communication of a different texture in the hair, a different texture of the skin, again, orbital area. There's been a lot, it could be medication related. There could be any number of factors, is what you're saying. So the whole thing is that we've noticed that shift, that the skin is just not able to hold the capacity that it once held, right? That's what
correct.
you were saying. Yeah. Okay. From a lived experience, if I look at my own personal life, going from the infertility. Well, let me backtrack before that. Like I've always taken really great care of my skin, and my skin has looked beautiful, not to toot my own horn, but it has. But because I've taken really good care of it. But I'm very proactive and preventative in nature about that sort of thing. And so when my skin started to freak out, it was like, what the heck is going on? Okay, well, your hormones are all out of whack. That's one of the things. Two, your cortisol level is like way off the roof. It's so high. So what happens when those sorts of things happen is it just changes your biology in general, right? And so when there's something to be said for that skin, gut, brain axis, how there's now all that new evidence and all that scientific research around how it's all connected, that it's not just, if we treat eczema, it's a skin condition. Well, yes, it's a skin condition, but it's rooted in something much deeper than that, right?
Yes,
Yeah. So it doesn't matter if it's eczema or if it's psoriasis or there's some specific clinical term or diagnoses, which I'm not diagnosing here, but I'm just saying we know now in research that there is a correlation between what is happening on the gut axis and the brain axis and the hormone axis, and they all talk to one another. It's like they have their own communication. So that's why we've really been big on skin as a system, because we have to look at the whole picture, not just treat the specific condition.
correct.
Yeah. And that's the lens in which we're talking about. That's the lens that we're educating our clients on, our customers, and then also other pros, other wellness providers.
Exactly. Education is a big key, and the more we understand our own bodies, the more we understand how the body works, how the system works, and how it presents ourselves in our skin. Obviously, everyone knows, or it's widely known that skin's the largest organ, right? We all know that. It covers every single part of our body. And the thing is what is now becoming more apparent and what we are really educating on is most of the symptoms that you see in the skin definitely there's a larger there's something bigger happening in the body than just what really is happening on the skin.
Mhm.
And it's big in clinic and us as results by nature educating on that whole, and that's what clients are really, really starting to understand. Oh, those 5 Diet Cokes a day that I drink, or those 9 Red Bulls, or,
Or just
I don't drink
endless
enough.
doom scrolling. Yeah.
Right.
On your
Um,
phone.
I don't drink
Yeah.
enough water. Like, no, I drink coffee and I drink tea. Or no, I'm really good. I don't drink a lot of caffeine. I drink decaffeinated tea. But then where's your water and stuff in there? And so just educating that again, the system is a whole system, and what you're seeing on the skin usually are symptoms of something bigger going on in the system as a whole.
Right. That's one of the things that we keep really kind of driving home in our content and the information we're putting out there is that your skin is a communicator. It's always communicating to us. And I think initially for myself, I always kind of equated things with if it's not on my face, then it's not really on my skin. When where did that I don't even know where that came from. But it's like it could be on your chest or on your arm or in your hand or on your wrist or on your leg or, any part of your body. It's your skin, right? So your skin is always communicating to something much bigger happening internally.
Yep.
And whether it is a hormone influence, a nervous system influence, an inflammatory load, a lived experience. I mean, we live in a modern society that is fast paced, but I think evolutionarily we're still there is something to be said for slower, intentional lives. We're not robots. We're not geared to kind of live in this fast paced society. So the skin kind of takes all of that in as well. And so that's the whole reason why we created our company. It's because we have this lived experience, which is my own experience transitioning from infertility now into perimenopause, right? So, like, we're not now into this new evolution of hormone, neural system, inflammatory, regulation that I'm working on, coupled with your clinical experience and then your holistic nutritional experience that you've embarked on. So
Yes, and my menopause. So,
yeah,
yes,
well,
we're going
exactly.
through going has been, still going through, all of the stages
Yeah, it's a
and
long
living.
road, and
So, not only do we have all the hormonal stages that we're going through that you go through as you age, but also living life in the fast-paced world that we live in right now,
mhm.
and all of the things that we deal with in that aspect as well.
Right. And I think too, like you bring up a good point when you mention that because, sometimes on social media, I see a lot about people saying, oh, it's just sensitive skin. Oh, you've got rosy cheeks. It's just sensitive skin. Or it's just hypersensitivity when reality that's really reactive.
No.
No.
So, no. So, reactive skin, what I see in the clinic room, reactive skin is just skin that blood flow comes quickly. And I love reactive skin, actually.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, reactive skin is great to treat because it gets really fast blood flow. It takes treatments easier. Sensitive skin, on the other hand, is basically, we think reactive as like a reaction, and that's exactly what it is. Like, you could, like, I'll go to the gym and I'll be on the treadmill for about 45 seconds and my face gets really, really red. Like,
Hmm.
all, and I've had trainers come over and go, "Are you okay? Like, what's your heart rate right now?" That's my skin being reactive
Hmm.
because it immediately is getting that blood flow to it. There's nothing wrong with that. Just some
Right.
people have vessels closer to the surface of the skin. That's reactive skin.
Okay.
Sensitive skin is skin where you actually can have a reaction, hives, inflammation, even when it comes to cleansing sensitivity, using the mildest cleanser on the skin, that type of thing, that's sensitive. Oh my goodness, I feel tingling already when there's no actives in the cleanser that's being used.
Okay.
Using cleansing brushes and that light silicone cleansing brushes or even fan brushes, and somebody saying, those feel pokey, or the bristles of the silicone brush feels like you're kind of running sandpaper over my face. That is very sensitive skin. There can be an inflammatory reaction to sensitive skin. Sensitive skin also gets red and can be reactive,
Mhm.
but reactive skin is not always sensitive.
Got it.
So that's where you see, like, that's where I see, I should say, a difference in those two types of things in the clinic. And obviously, you treat those two types of skin or what's going on in their skin to make it reactive or to make it sensitive. Choose your treatments that way.
That's a good point to clarify because sometimes people think reactive skin is sensitive skin, and you're
Yes,
saying not necessarily.
correct. Yes. Because I'll have clients come in all the time that say, "My skin is very sensitive, like, I can't use anything." So then I say, "Explain to me, like, what happens when you use something?" "Well, it gets really red." Well, then it's a deeper set of questions. Well, when it gets red, do you get itchy? Do you get tingly? Does it not feel good? Those types of things. And when I get the answer, no, it just gets really red, then I know that's reactive skin. Or,
Mhm.
yes, as a matter of fact, I can't use anything with fragrance. I can't use anything that has any actives to it. I can't use anything because it feels like my skin is burning. That's sensitive skin.
Mhm. Got
Yeah.
it. Very cool. Well, that's like the end of podcast 1, 0. Actually, podcast 0, right? Ground
Podcast
0.
zero. Yes.
Yeah. So it's the conversation. This is the conversation of how we think behind the scenes. So if there's something more, it's because the lens is needed. That's how we end this podcast. So very
Absolutely.
cool.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.